皆様ご起立ください。
Konnichiwa and hello Olympics fans and lovers of TKFLASTAN, and welcome to Keep the Flame Alive, the podcast for fans of the Olympics and Paralympics. I am your host, Jill Jaracz, joined as always by my lovely co-host, Alison Brown. Alison, konnichiwa, how are you?
Konnichiwa, day 2.
I know, it's so exciting. So much action. We had 22 sports on the program today, so we've got a lot to fit in a little time. We have a little bit of follow-up from day 1. So remember from our pre-Tokyo roundtable episode, after Australian equestrian show jumper Jamie Kermond was deselected because he tested positive for cocaine, the Australian Olympic Committee got the information that the remaining 2 show jumpers, Edwina Tobbs-Alexander and Katie Laurie, will be allowed to compete in the individual jumping competition, which was a big relief. And then Australia is just not going to have a team in the team competition, which really stinks. You know, this
equestrian is one of their sports.
I know, and just one guy messes it up for everybody. We forgot to mention during the Parade of Nations, because everything happened so quickly and nations came out so quickly, although, now that I think about it, they should have spaced them out a little bit better, not just for COVID, but just because of timing. We forgot to mention Pita Tafua, the infamous flag bearer for Tonga. He is in his 3rd games. Remember, he was catapulted himself to fame in 2016 because he was the shirtless flag bearer slathered in oil. So he was also at Pyeongchang 2018 for the Winter Olympics. And now he's back for summer. He's competing in taekwondo again. Once again, shirtless, oiled up. But Vanuatu, game recognized game, they also had a shirtless flag bearer who is, I believe his name is Rililo, who is a rower. We got a lovely email from listener Jamie, who wanted to give us a lot of context about Anastasia Palaszczuk being in Tokyo. She is the premier. We talked a little bit about John Coates, IOC VP, and many, many other things, talking about Brisbane winning the 2032 bid, and Palaszczuk was going to go back to Australia. And he said, no, you have to stay and go to the opening ceremonies. And listener Jamie told us that Palaszczuk's having a hard time back home because of decisions she has made regarding governing the COVID pandemic. So nobody's allowed to travel. So her going to Tokyo was a big deal anyway and got people very upset. And she said, okay, well, I'll just go to this meeting and then I'll come back and not make it a huge thing. And it was kind of like, well, you're here anyway. You should just go.
Yes. So now she can blame John Coates as forcing her to go. She doesn't have to take responsibility for violating her own travel restrictions. And speaking of violating restrictions, did you read about Christophe Duby's little fit?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay. So as we mentioned yesterday, we talked a lot about Team USA not wearing masks, but there were many countries, flag bearers coming in with no masks on or taking them off very quickly. Well, Christophe Duby got up in front of the press, apparently had a meeting with all the chefs de mission and said, this is not going to fly. You better get your people in line. We have a playbook. Use it.
Wow. Good for him. Because, I mean, really, A, health, B, everything is kind of on the line for so many people regarding having this games. So why people can't play along and make it work, I don't understand. And there were several countries just not wearing masks. And you could say, well, we were outside in a stadium, but you weren't far enough away from people.
And I saw an article today on Bloomberg about the number of COVID cases at the Olympics. And it broke it down into athletes, contractors, media, and volunteers. And you want to know who has 0 positive COVID cases? The volunteers.
Good.
They're the ones who are doing the job. And I am so proud of Tokyo for that. It's all the other people that are screwing it up. But the people of Tokyo are trying to make this happen. What have I been saying for weeks? Don't be stupid.
Who else got called out for not wearing a mask? The Asahi Shimbun reported that Yasuhiro Yamashita, who is the president of the Japanese Olympic Committee, did not wear a mask while talking to officials at the judo competition. You know better. You really know better. So we'll see. COVID numbers connected to the games are rising a little bit. We're up to 127 cases right now. 71 are Japanese residents and 56 are non-residents who are in Japan. And then the Olympic Flame has reached its permanent resting place over at the Tokyo waterfront area. It's
so funny you call it a resting place because it's like where Olympic flames go to die. It is.
Well, Actually, that's a quote from Inside the Games because I copied. But it does look like flame on a stick.
Unfortunate. I think it was, and we talked about this earlier, this was the urban park that was supposed to be filled with arts fairs and craftsmen and activities and viewing stations. And now it's just a big empty cement field with a giant silver stick.
And a flame.
And a
So
flame.
that's really tough. Well, before we get to today's action, we would like to give a special thank you to our Patreon patrons. Their financial contributions help to cover the extensive production costs of the show. If you would like to support us with an ongoing donation, head over to patreon.com/flamealivepod and you can learn more information there. If an ongoing donation is not up your alley, we will have a Kickstarter starting tomorrow that will help fund our travels to Beijing, because we will be on the ground in Beijing for both the Olympics and the Paralympics, and we need your support to get there. So today, 22 sports, 6 medals. I don't even know. Should we just go down alphabetically?
Well, I did not watch 22 sports.
No, I did not watch 22 sports.
And I have not seen any medals.
Oh, wow.
I haven't watched any medal sports yet.
Oh, holy cow. All right. Well, let's start off with, what did you watch?
I watched some 3-on-3 men's basketball.
Let's start there, because I watched one of those games as well. So,
I watched Belgium and Japan.
This was the men's pool. Ooh, this was a close game.
It went into, I think, double overtime. I'm not, but it certainly went into overtime. And Japan upset Belgium.
Yes.
This apparently is a huge upset because Belgium was a heavy medal favorite.
Wow.
And what was so interesting about the Japanese team, they have this giant Texan on the team named Ira Brown, who in 2018 became a Japanese citizen. He plays on the 3x3 circuit in Japan and lives in Okinawa.
Wow. Well, I guess lucky for them. Japan did beat Belgium 18-16. I caught some of the Netherlands versus the Russian Olympic Committee. Netherlands won 18-15. Women and men played. I didn't catch any of the women, but the pool so far is Russian Olympic Committee and USA are both 2-0. The ROC had a close win over Japan and then easily beat China. USA had 2 easy wins over France and Mongolia. China and Japan, Italy and France are all 1-1. China easily beat Mongolia and Japan easily beat Romania. Italy had a 1-point win over Mongolia, so I may go back and watch that. And they had a close loss to France, and then on the bottom are Romania and Mongolia with no wins, 2 losses. On the men's side, Serbia is 2-0. They easily beat China. They had a 1-point win over the Netherlands. Then Latvia, Poland, ROC, Netherlands, Japan, and Belgium are all 1-1. And China is 0-2.
So I do want to call out the American announcer on NBC.
Oh, no.
For 3x3, Kyle Montgomery. Would you like to know one of the clever little quips he gave today?
Oh, no.
You put the round thing in the round thing.
Oh, boy.
And that was one of the cleverer things he said. So 3x3 is not getting its due on the announcing side.
I am sorry to hear that. Very sorry to hear that.
But can we talk about another sport who's doing much better with announcing?
What?
Men's indoor volleyball.
Oh, okay. You watched some pool play.
I did. So I watched the USA men and France, and Paul Sunderland, who was a member of the 1984 USA volleyball
Oh,
team,
okay.
was so fantastic in his announcing. And here's the best comment he made. Apparently, volleyball is huge in Japan. Really popular sport. Yeah. And how it's unique that they have a dedicated venue for volleyball. So he was saying how great the stats are, great the venue is and the facilities and everything. But here's the thing that he said that really made me happy and sad at the same time, because he's played a lot in Japan. And he said, what we are missing out, and I am not quoting him exactly, but what we are missing out in not having fans, the Japanese fans there, is we are missing out getting to know the Japanese people.
Oh.
And I realized, because, a lot of these teams do play in front of empty venues frequently.
Mm-hmm.
The shooters don't have big crowds. The archers don't have big crowds. But even we at home are missing out on getting the stories of the athletes going into Tokyo and getting to know the Japanese people. And that made me really sad, but so amazed that he pointed that out. So I'm looking forward to watching some more volleyball, because I did not know your volleyball boyfriend, Karch Karai, was Team USA women's coach.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Missed that, because I was thinking as I was watching the volleyball, where's Karch Karai? He's the coach. So that makes me very excited to watch some more volleyball.
Okay, so men's volleyball was men's preliminary pools. Italy 3, Canada 2, Brazil versus Tunisia. Brazil wins 3-0. ROC versus Argentina. ROC wins 3-1. Japan beat Venezuela 3-0, which again, like you said, would have been fantastic to watch. Poland versus Iran. Iran won 3-2, and then the US beat France 3-0.
And I did not make a note of the name of the Brazilian women's player they were mentioning, but there is a lot of excitement around Team USA, meaning Team Brazil, in the women's tournament.
Ooh, okay. Put that on your list.
Put that on your list.
Speaking of crowds, you know where there was a crowd?
Outside the opening ceremony protesting?
No, at the cycling road race, because I had that going on. Yes, because the road race was really long, and then it went out to around, started around Tokyo and went out to like Mount Fuji area, into areas where you could have fans, but there were people on the street and people on bridges watching and cheering. And when they were it ended in the Speedway racing stadium, auto racing stadium, and right at the finish line they've got like these bumpers kind of thing to create the bike lane, and people lined up, pummeling the bumpers to clap everybody in. It was so much fun to see. And I get it. I get COVID is a problem, but some people were wearing masks. I mean, the cyclist went by so fast you couldn't necessarily see, but you could see just people watching and having a good time and really getting into it. And that made me sad it made me happy for the cyclists, but it made me sad for other events.
One of the conversations that has been going on in our Facebook group is how strange it is without the fans.
It is. It's very strange.
And I raised the question, I wonder if in a few days we'll just get used to it.
I don't know.
This will be our new normal. I hope so, because I don't want to be constantly distracted by the no fans. I want to move past it.
I know, but we watched judo with no fans in this beautiful stadium. It's got so much history, and it was very sad to see that. But men's road race, gold at the end. Richard Carapaz from Ecuador pulls out the wind, not that far. A few seconds behind was a big pack of people, and just eking out silver and bronze were Wout van Aert from Belgium and Tadej Pogačar from Slovenia.
Now, was this the race where Geraint Thomas of the UK had the accident? It must have been.
This was the only cycling race.
Yeah, so Geraint Thomas had a crash and he withdrew.
Oh.
So that was the only news I had heard from road racing.
Okay. I had it on. It was I did a 2-screen thing yesterday. I'm working my way up, and it was a really good event to have on your second screen and have
Right,
it
because you don't need to follow every second.
exactly. So the roads were really wet in places, and it was so interesting to watch like cyclists drop back to find their cars, and then it's like I think it was a Canadian rider needed new shoes, so the car support changed the shoe for him while he was on the bike, and then he went back off, and it's just they're all trying to navigate these cars. There's like the peloton of cars and then the peloton of bikes.
Okay, I know who needs to be in those cards. Moms of toddlers. Because nobody can do things in a moving vehicle the way a mom of a toddler can make that happen.
Very true. Very true. So they had like food bags and they're getting water and it was really hot. So people had ice vests and they're shoving, cold stuff down their shirts. But it was a really fun event to watch. I may tune into the women's cycling as well. All right. What else did you watch?
Softball.
Oh, how was that? Because
If you are not watching the women's softball tournament, you are missing out. The games are fast. The athleticism is fantastic. And it doesn't feel so empty because the teams go crazy for one another.
Yeah. And there were some big games yesterday.
Right. So I was watching the Team USA and Mexico game.
Mm-hmm.
Abbott and Osterman once again. Oh, if you love pitching, and those two women are unbelievable. The final score was 2-0. So it wasn't even like a runaway. It was just the tournament ends on the 27th. Do not miss any more games.
Exactly. So also playing, Canada beat Australia 7-1 and Japan beat Italy 5-0. And every team has 2 more games before the medal matches happen. Japan and USA are on top of the leaderboard, tied at 3-0. Canada has 2 wins, 1 loss. Australia 1 win, 2 losses. Mexico and Italy, they're 0-3.
And I think if you're on the East Coast in the US, the Team USA Australia match is going to be 9 p.m. on Saturday night.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So it's going to be Sunday in Japan. So that'll be on kind of our day 3 pieces. But I wanted to mention that because USA and Australia going against each other. I know. Oh, the powerhouses in that tournament.
All right. What else did you watch?
Well, that was everything. And then I watched the opening ceremonies again. And
I did watch the pictogram segment twice.
It gets better with every viewing.
Much. Well, because the more you watch it, the more you pick up on the little details that you didn't know before, and just how complex that whole segment was. It's so impressive how they did it. And even though they had pictogram heads on, so you couldn't see who was doing it, the personality that they showed while performing it was just fantastic.
It was brilliant. That was just ingenious and clever and great fun to watch.
I'm going to watch it again today. So I watched some archery. I watched a good amount of archery. It was the mixed team event, which is new for Tokyo. I watched early matches. USA lost in its first match. It was amazing how nothing happened with them. It just looked like they shouldn't have been there. Oh, it was USA versus Indonesia. And the score looks tight, 5-4, but the USA did not look good. Brady Ellison was not shooting. It took them forever to get a 10, and that's really unusual. They had to go to a shootout, and they lost the shootout. It took until the third set for the USA to get a 10, and Brady Ellison looked off, and I was really surprised. Mackenzie Brown looked fairly off, and the Indonesian team just outshot them. So that was interesting. I did get to see India because I'm looking forward to watching the Indian shooters. There's an Indian shooter named, we've talked about her on the show, or the newsletter called, her name is Deepika Kumari, and she is very talented, has been to London and Rio. There's a Netflix documentary about her. lot of pressure from the country to do well. And I watched her and her partner, Pravin Jadhav, beat Chinese Taipei 5-3, but they did not, I believe, lost in the quarterfinals. It ended up with, I did watch the bronze, all two medal matches. So it was Mexico versus Turkey for the bronze. And this was amazing because Luis Alvarez from Mexico hit a 2 in the second set. You do not see Olympic shooters hit a 2.
Wow.
I know. And one of the reasons I do love watching archery is because you learn your numbers in another language. And you're just like, what? A 2? I did not.
It was a number you did not recognize.
Right? So, but then Turkey answered, shooter Nagaz got a 5 in the third set, and that's what allowed Mexico to win. I know you don't see 2s and 5s at the Olympic level. So really, this is a match to go back and watch. It's very fascinating. And it's also, this event is interesting because they only have so many seconds to shoot for the entire match, and it's clock management is a big deal. And they're just, you see the clock going down and you wonder, are they going to get the shot off?
I was just going to say, it'll be interesting to watch the archery competition as it unfolds. And if we keep seeing some of these anomalies, then it no longer becomes an anomaly. And it makes you wonder, is there something going on with the venue because they couldn't have a full test event?
Could be. I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting. The wind was a little going in different directions. It wasn't super windy, but there was a wind, and that could have been a factor too, just reading it wrong. So for Mexico, Luis Alvarez is the first Mexican man to medal in archery. So congratulations. And his partner, Alejandra Valencia, is the third Mexican woman to get a medal in archery. So the gold medal match was also so tight. And it was Korea versus the Netherlands. And the Netherlands was actually ranked first in the world at this point. Korea was ranked second, but Korea pulled out the wind. Why? Because Steve Wilder from the Netherlands got a 6 in the third set. Again, just these random shots you don't see. So that is a tournament to go back and watch if you like archery. We dipped into fencing a little bit because Ben and I met fencing epee, and he wanted to watch Mulhauser from Brazil, and she was favored to medal because she did well in the Worlds last year, but she lost to Flamingo from Italy in the table of 32, and that kind of soured us on the rest of the competition. But the gold went to Sung Yi Wen from China. The silver went to Anna Maria Popescu from Romania, and Katrina Lehis from Estonia won the bronze. There was also men's sabre individual, which we had that on. The stream of the fencing is interesting because there's 4 strips in the arena, and they have all 4 on the screen. So you almost don't know what to watch. And then when they aren't off, there must be some DJ in there because they are playing some funky music to get people excited.
There was funky music at 3-on-3 as well.
Oh, but that's part of 3-on-3 because they'll play music during the thing. Yeah, they try really hard to build an exciting environment for 3x3. But Penn's like, sabre would be more interesting if it wasn't just people running at each other and yelling, because it really is a lot of yeah. So the gold went to Aaron Shilagi from Hungary. Luigi Samala from Italy got the silver, and Kim Jun-hwan, I believe from Korea, got the bronze.
I don't think I've ever heard you make that sound before.
Oh, it gets better. You want noise? Go to taekwondo. We had some taekwondo on as well, and the OBS commentator was fabulous because he said kicks, punches, and squawks so far from this match. That was it was a woman from Egypt who just was like, yeah! And it really sounded like cats going at it, just yelling. And it got to be very, very annoying after a while. The 2 contests that they had yesterday were the women's 49 kilograms and the men's 58 kilograms. And on the women's side, Panapak Wongpatanakit from Thailand got the gold. Adriana Cerezo Iglesias from Spain got the silver, and bronzes went to Tiana Bogdanovic from Serbia and Abishag Semberg from Israel. And then in the men's side, Villa del Aquila from Italy won the gold. Mohamed Kali Jindubi from Tunisia won the silver. Jang Jun from Korea won the bronze, as well as Mikhail Artemonov from the Russian Olympic Committee. We watched this match between Jack Woolley from Ireland and Lucas Lafaro Guzman from Argentina. And Jack Woolley could lay these head kicks on you that were just like, how does he make his body turn like that? Because his body would be going one way, his leg would be going another way, and his foot would like curl around and just like bonk you in the head. It was so amazing to watch. He was doing well. It looked like he was going to win. And then right at the end, his coach called a challenge to have a kick that Jack scored as a spinning kick, which was a higher point value, and it wasn't a spinning kick. They lost the challenge, and then the Argentinian just got 2 punches in the trunk, he got 2 points in the trunk really quickly, and that sealed the deal for Argentina. So it was interesting to watch. Taekwondo is an interesting sport because I forget that people score a lot. You can have it's kind of like when we learned about handball, and handball scores are like, it can be in the 20s, and football is in the 0s and 1s. Well, that's kind of like taekwondo to say judo, 1 point for judo, but you can have like 22 points in taekwondo. So that was interesting. Did watch some judo.
Did you see Tokyo's first gold medal?
No, did not see that, but I would go back to watch that because I keep thinking, well, the stand will go crazy. But
there's nobody to go crazy. So it was Takato Naohisa in the men's extra light judo. And I immediately saw that and thought, oh, I'm so glad the extra light is early in the competition because now we can go eat. And then I realized, no, he can't because he has to pack up his stuff and get the heck out of the village. He's only got 48 hours. Maybe they'll give him a to-go box from the dining hall.
There you go. And he beat Yang Yu Wei from Taipei to get the gold. And then bronzes went to Luka Makizda from France and Yeldos Smetov from Kazakhstan. On the women's side, we did see I ended up figuring out that it was one of the bronze medal matches between Ukraine and Israel, and Daria Belodid from Ukraine won, and she did a formidable job. This is, again, judo. We talked about this before. Judo is blink and you miss it. And I would constantly be looking at a different screen or blinking, and I'd be like, oh, I just missed the end of the match. What happened?
Well, the Ukrainian athlete had the power of her fanny pack from the opening ceremony's outfit.
Right. So on the women's 48 kilogram side, the other bronze went to Yorantang Sateg Mukbat from Mongolia. The silver went to Funo Tanaki from Japan, and the gold went to Distria Krasniki from Kosovo, which congratulations to Kosovo for getting a gold. And I think I had her in my fantasy league. Very excited. I haven't been able to check the fantasy league because they've been over quota when I've tried to log in today. So
I had Geraint Thomas in my fantasy league, so that should tell you how I'm doing.
Oh, there you go. I did catch like a couple of performances on the men's gymnastics side. Sam McCulloch from the US did a really good parallel bars routine. So they had qualifying the teams. The teams going to the finals are Japan, China, Russian Olympic Committee, USA, Great Britain, and Germany. The top 3 teams are very close in points. And then the bottom 3 teams, then our USA and Great Britain are very close. Germany's quite distant. So they were happy to get into the finals. I'm really curious to see how that shakes out for the finals.
That should be an excellent competition because pretty much 5 of those teams could easily turn up on the podium. And how they turn up on the podium could be in any combination thereof. So I think the men's gymnastics team is going to be a lot more interesting in terms of you really don't know who's going to win. Exactly. As opposed to the women's.
Exactly. I did dip into a little of badminton and caught a bit of a doubles match, but did not finish watching it. Did watch Millie Tapper or TKFLASTAN.
Yeah, she and Hemming Hugh lost to France. So
Yeah,
they're out of the mixed doubles competition.
Yeah, that was tough. They lost 4-0, and their individual games were 11-5, 11-9. That second game, I think, was they could have turned it around, because after that it was 11-1, 11-0.
Yeah, they kind of, yeah.
But it was really fun to watch her compete.
And she still has the individual and competition.
Okay.
She's not done. And neither is Hemming Hugh.
Good.
He's doing both men's and doubles. So they're not done.
Beach volleyball had some preliminary games. We'll start getting into scores when it gets further down, except for in the women's side, Japanese team Ishii and Murakami beat Czech, and beat is in quotes, Hermanovas and Slakova because Slakova tested positive for COVID and they had to forfeit. So that was tough. Football. In women's group play, Canada beat Chile 2-1. Great Britain beat Japan 1-0. Tie of China and Zambia at 4-all. Tie for Netherlands and Brazil 3-all. Sweden beat Australia 4-2, and USA coming back from that Sweden game 6-1 against New Zealand.
Okay, I do want to mention how the hand-wringing that has happened in the American media about the U.S. women's soccer team losing a match in the pool play. Calm down. Number one, it's pool play. Number two, these women are not invincible.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the 1992 men's basketball dream team where it's unheard of for them to lose. I mean, yes, the team USA is clearly top of the heap of women's soccer. But can we all calm down about them losing a match?
Everybody can lose at some point in time. Over in handball, Norway beat Brazil 27-24. France beat Argentina 33-27. Sweden over Bahrain 32-31. That sounds like a good match that I might go back and watch. Spain beat Germany 28-27. Egypt over Portugal 37-31. And Denmark beat Japan 47-30. Hockey, both men and women played yesterday. Australia beat Japan 5-3. Belgium beat Netherlands 3-1. India beat New Zealand 3-2. Argentina and Spain had a 1-1 tie. Great Britain beat South Africa 3-1. Germany beat Canada 7-1. On the women's side, Netherlands beat India 5-1. I do wonder if there's a difference for the women's Indian women's team versus the Indians men team in terms of expectations. I was happy to see India win their first game.
And funding.
Yeah, well, that goes without saying, really. Also on the women's side, Ireland beat South Africa 2-0. Oh, shooting. That's the other thing I watched, because it was the first medal. First medal. Women's 10-meter air rifle. I tuned in right when the finals were starting and saw so it was single elimination. They got a couple shots and they were eliminated. It was really fun to see what happened, and it was down to Yang Qiang from China and Anastasia Galashina from the Russian Olympic Committee, and they both shot poorly. It was so anticlimactic. And then Nina Kristen from Switzerland got the bronze. So what they did for the medal ceremony, because I really wanted to see that too, instead of having gold up top, silver 1 step down, bronze 2 steps down, silver and bronze are on the same level. And it's like they took those blocks and spread them out. So you have a very spread out podium, and the bronze and silver medalists get on either side of that so that they're quite distant from the gold. I know, because then what happened? So then T-Bach came out with the medals on the tray.
Oh, right, because it's the first event, so he does the medals.
And they take the medal and they put it on themselves. So that's how that's going to work. And then the president of the Shooting Federation came with the bouquets, and they've got the Muratwai, but the Muratwais, instead of the blue trim on his face, it's metallic that matches the color of the medal that they won.
Oh no. Yes. Are you serious?
Yes. Isn't that fantastic?
Oh, goodness gracious. Now I'm upset I turned off the shooting because it was making me so stressed out. I tried to tune in for just a couple minutes, and clearly I am not a shooter.
Yeah, it's tough. It is nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And then they try so hard to be socially distant, and nobody knows what to do because everybody's kind of happy. And they played the anthems, and the volunteer escorted them out. Kind of, they were kind of standing there, and the press obviously wanted photos. And shooting, the range was actually not packed, but the range had a lot of people in it because it was the first medal. So it felt like there was a crowd there, and that was exciting. So then, of course, the medalists were like, well, let's go just back in front of the podium again. And what they do, they stood together.
I can't see how keeping the podium apart makes any sense. They're in the range on top of each other. They
Right.
are, Luca Jones posted a picture of all the canoe women from all the different countries met and took a picture, which is apparently a tradition. So they were all
Right.
together.
Yeah. And they're all like, during competition, they have their masks off, and in the shooting range, you're in an indoor facility. So it's really, there's so much COVID theater at play here.
Oh,
I think
tremendous.
And it's really tough. So the medalists had to wear the masks during the ceremony, but you could see the gold medal winner. She was, her eyes were smiling. She was, you could see that happiness, and it was nice, but it was, it's just one of those very weird things. I wonder if we'll get used to it by the end. And over on the men's air pistol, Javad Farogi from Iran won the gold. Damir Mikic from Serbia won the silver, and Wei Pang from China won the bronze.
Oh, before I forget, I did want to mention that the 3x3 basketball mentioned what's up with Serbia.
Hey, you heard it here first. All right.
Okay.
Well,
Checklist on watch?
Yes.
Okay, couple of quick things. As I mentioned, Team USA and Coach Laura Berg will be up against Australia. Ginny Fuchs has got her first bout against Svetlana Sulianova of the ROC. So that'll be on overnight if you're in the US.
Okay.
And Luca Jones, speaking of, starts K1
tomorrow. I will definitely tune into that because that is fun to watch.
I'm ready for some water sports.
Exactly. And I know some swimming finals probably start tonight too.
I'm ready for the swimming, ready for Rowdy Gaines.
I know, let me burst your bubble here because Algerian judoka Fethi Nourine and his coach have withdrawn from Tokyo because there is the possibility of him meeting an Israeli opponent. So Nourine competes in the under 73 kilogram class. He would have faced Tohar Football of Israel in the second round. So not only is there like, you got to get past the first round first, buddy, but Ben and I were talking, it's just like, I know you don't like Israel and you don't recognize Israel, but you know what? Why don't you put them in their place?
I'm kind of like, I don't like you.
Yeah.
I'm still going to fight you. This is the Olympics, people. This is the point.
Right.
Remember, you don't come to the Olympics to be a wimp. You don't come to the Olympics to be a wuss.
There you go.
The Australian equestrians taught us that.
That is exactly right. Okay. So don't forget to go to flamelivepod.com/Tokyo to get in on all the action. Let us know how you did on opening ceremonies bingo. I think that was a little harder than I thought it would be. But,
agreed.
Yeah, if nobody's gotten we've seen some very close covered cards, but if you got close but didn't get everything, let us know, because then we'll start going on who covered the most. And there's fantasy leagues and all that jazz. So now it is time to say sayonara. So as we go out to music by Mercury Sunset, thank you so much for listening. And until tomorrow, keep the flame alive.